Hello, I'm Julia Fisher. Welcome to The Olive Tree, the programme that brings you the stories of what God is doing in Israel today amongst believers who live there, both Jewish and Arab people. My guest today is Hanna Eid. He is an Israeli Arab pastor living and working in northern Israel, close to the Sea of Galilee. Hanna was born in the same village in which he now lives with his wife and daughters. But he could be living a very different life because a few years ago he graduated from Haifa University with a degree in engineering. So why did he go back to the village where he grew up? Hanna, hello, welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
We're intrigued to hear your story. So as I mentioned, you grew up in Eilabun, the village where you now live, didn't you?
Yeah, I grew up in a village called Elabun, as you said. It's very close to the Sea of Galilee. Even it's also very close to a place called Magdala, where Mary Magdalene was born there, where we are hearing. She's one of the first people that proclaimed the resurrection. As I said, I was born here in Elabun from a very traditional Christian family. I was even in my childhood helping the priest in the church, but knowing Christ was absent. I know Christianity from tradition only.
So you were part of an Orthodox Christian community.
Yeah, it's very Catholic. Yeah, Greek Catholic. Yeah, Greek Catholic. Yeah. Then I grew there, helping the priest without knowing about Christ. Was involved in the mass, everything. Until in the 80s, I was around maybe 10 years old. Evangelical pastor began to visit our town, especially my sister, and he started to invite me to a Sunday school. And I was involved in the Sunday school, and they were giving us a lot of presents. If you tell the verse, we'll give you the present, we'll give you chocolate. Um, until one stage in the age of 15, he invited me to a conference, this pastor, and for the first time I'm hearing about Christ, that he's living and he's changing life, and he want to be your savior. And I remember it was in August 1990. I prayed to the Lord, and from this moment, I know that Christ entered my life. And the story with the calling also started there. I know that God is calling me, but there was a lot of challenges in the way. Being from a Catholic background, and now God is calling me. It was not easy. I went to university. As you said, in Haifa. I studied there to be civil engineering, and I thought my plan will be I will be a civil engineer, good one, and have a lot of money. But God has another plan for me. After I finish, God was clear in His voice to me, I am calling you to the ministry. It was not easy step, but God brought me to a point that it was very hurting for me. But sometimes, God bring you to a point that hurt me, but He wants the good for you. And it was a lot of crying to the Lord. And He was very clear, I am calling you to be a servant here in the Galilee area.
Had you met Lena by this time, your wife?
At that time, it was God planned that the calling with the wife was coming together. It's kind of a package. God put it like this. I give you a calling, and I want to give you a wife. And at that time, calling and wife came together. And when I know that God is calling me. The first thing that God is telling me, you need a wife to stand with you. And afterward, I get Norlina, and she has the same heart for our land here for the Galilee area. God opened the door after 1 year of marriage to be in England. We were in a place called Leighton Buzzard and studying in a course called Cornhill Courses. It's very conservative Anglican uh, institute. It was very good, to being far from your land for 1 year. Then in some ways, God is doing like zoom out. Then you understanding what God is doing in you. Then returning after 1 year in 2004 to here, and God began to open doors in several towns, like in Sekhneen, in Der Hanna, in Magar. We have some also women groups there. Um, at first, I didn't know that God is calling me for my hometown, which was another challenge, because Arabic culture is very close culture, and suddenly you are the pastor. It's not easy. But I know that God is calling me. And in 2013, I was ordained as a pastor here in Labun. And God has used us here. And our main vision, I will say that is to have a church here, a strong church here, and to have also kind of a daughter churches in the Galilee area that people would come to hear, And we are seeing God is doing this because we have several people who are coming from, around the area to coming to the church here, And thank God we are seeing God moving. Yeah.
Maybe, Hannah, we could just explain to people that in northern Israel, in the Galilee area, there are hundreds of Arab villages. Some are entirely Muslim. Others, like your village, are a mixture of Orthodox Christian and Muslim.
Yeah.
You're an evangelical Israeli Arab pastor. Does that put you in the minority? There's not many
Yeah.
people like you, are there?
Yeah. Yes, you are right. We are very minority, In Israel, we have, I would say approximately, we have about around now 9 million people are living here, The majority are Jews here. 20% of the population here in Israel are Arabs. Then we are speaking less than 2 million, or 1 point, maybe 8 or 7.7 are Arabs. Who are, then the two groups are Arabs in Israel and Jews in Israel. In the Arabs, we have three groups who are Arabs. The majority who are Muslims Arabs, who are not nearly 90% of the Arabs here. And we have also small group of the Christian. And we are speaking, the majority of the Christian are nominal Christian, like Orthodox or Catholic, The evangelical are very few. Then a lot of times you are seeing are minority. In the Christian you are minority, in the Arab are minority, and in Israel as a whole you are minority. And it's not easy. There is a lot of challenges here. But we know that God has put us here for a purpose. Because we have heart for the Galilee area.
So it's into that scenario that you have tried to establish an evangelical church in your
Yeah.
home village where you're
Yes.
known.
Yeah.
It has been a challenge. How are you getting on? How are people responding to you?
I will say that by God's grace, God is opening more doors. One of the, I would say, the important words in culture that we are living here, especially in the Arab villages or in the Galilee area, is relationship. The relationship is very important in the ministry. Because you are living in a community that people know each other. Then relationship of love, relationship of caring, relationship of seeing that you are praying for them is influence them. And also seeing you are a testimony, because when I was in England, you can see the pastor is living one place and the church is in one other place. But in Arabic culture, people are seeing to you as in a microscope, seeing what you are doing as a pastor. And even the challenges as even my children are seeing that they are the children of the pastor, how they behave, then it's very important to be a good testimony, in your marriage with your children. But God has opened several doors. I would share a little thing about the camps which we are doing with the children, which we started more than 10 years ago. And by God's grace, last year or this year in July, we have also a camp, a vacation Bible school for the children. It was a challenge in a Corona environment, But God has given us a grace in the authority. They give all the paper, they was signed, and even one of the member of the council says, "We are standing with you because we are believing what we are doing is very good for the children, for our children." And thank God, God has blessed us with more than 100 children, coming to the vacation for 6 days, singing, praying for Jesus, seeing the joy of the Lord and seeing how these children are affecting the parents, A lot of the parents did know about the evangelical church or even about Christ. And a lot of testimony we are hearing, A lot of parents will come to me or to Lena. I see my children are praying, I see my children is reciting the verses you are telling in the Bible. I see even one of the parents told me that I see my son is praying for his ill sister, because they are seeing, and a lot of testimony, and we have also a party at the end of this camp with the parents, and it was very, very, very moving, and I think it's one of the things is that we believe in prayers as a church, as a couple. We started nearly 4 months ago to raise early in the morning and to pray. And we feel the power of the prayer, that God is moving in these things as you pray and you ask the Lord, ask for the kingdom of the Lord to come to the Galilee area where Jesus, minister here, and we are seeing God is moving in the children, and also several of these children who came are from towns around, from Magar, from Der Hanna, from Sakhnin, from several towns, and we are seeing a lot of people, even from Magar, we have like one bus every day are coming from from this town, to Elabun, and thank God, we are seeing this, and we are
Hanna,
seeing also. Yeah, sorry.
I was going to say, Hanna, you got a lot of stories, and we're going to continue with those stories in our next program. But thank you for joining us, and we'll look forward to talking to you further.
Okay, thank you.
The Olive Tree Reconciliation Fund is a Christian charity based in the UK that supports the needs of both Jewish believers and Arab or Palestinian Christians living in Israel and the wider Middle East. If you'd like to know more about our work and receive our free bi-monthly newsletter, please visit our website, olivetreefund.org. Meanwhile, join me at the same time next week for another story from the Olive Tree. Until then, goodbye.